My fiancé and I have been saving for many years to get married. We had built up a fund of £12,000. Not loads by other people's standards, but enough to have a good day. My fiancé's mother then borrowed the fund to get remarried, husband number 2. Before the wedding, they promised they'd have it back in a few months, which was fine. So, effectively, we paid for them to get married at the local Hilton. A month after the wedding, husband number 2 gets sacked for running a scam at his workplace. It has now been 18 months. He's still on the dole, drinking those 2-liter bottles of cider you see tramps drinking. We have not had a penny paid back. My fiancé is a bit emotional, guilty about the whole situation, so I haven't pushed the matter. We're trying to book somewhere for the big day now, so fiancé asks his mother if she has any cash she can pay back. I wasn't too riled about the whole situation until this point. Her response was to laugh and say, "Well, you have to cut your cloth according to your budget." I am glad I wasn't there when she said it, as I am likely to have grabbed her by her fat, stupid head and thrown her out of our house. They were staying over for the weekend. She has the audacity to say that, knowing she effectively stole our entire wedding fund. Frankly, the whole situation is unbelievable, but I swear it is all true. So, I don't know what to do. What would you do? You're not getting that money back, so best to accept that now. I would have a talk with the fiancé about whether her mother should have any place in your life going forward from this point on. She married a con artist and has the nerve to laugh in her daughter's face after stealing from her. I think your lives would be much better off if she were no longer a part of it, to protect you from further treachery. Well, she sure as shoot isn't invited to the wedding. She'd never be welcome in my home, or around my family. I'd suggest your wife does some credit checks too. Don't put it past this bee to open credit in your daughter's name or something. You're out that money, but I think now is a good time to establish that a thief is not a welcome member of your family. Maybe get her to read some stuff on toxic parenting. Might open her eyes. My wife Molly is a doctor and took up a post at a hospital far from where we live for a few months. Fortunately, my parents live nearby, so we're staying with them during that time while I work remotely. My 17-year-old sister Hannah lives there too. We flew in yesterday. I will say that Molly is a very glamorous woman. She likes to dress her best as much as possible. For the flight, she wore one of her favorite blue dresses and some lube heels I got her for her birthday, which were the same color. My parents have a very strict shoes off at the door rule, which neither of us mind. But after dinner, we were cuddled on the sofa, and Molly was scrolling through Instagram. She follows Hannah, and we were shocked to see a picture of Hannah posing in her mirror and clearly wearing Molly's shoes. Molly is very protective over her clothing. She's never once lent an item of clothing out, even to her closest friends. She was very angry to see Hannah wearing her shoes, and we went to Hannah's room to get them. Hannah did apologize. She said she never wore cool shoes like that before, and just wanted to try them on. Molly wasn't happy with this, and made clear that Hannah is not to touch any of her things again. I think Molly was right in this case. Hannah took her shoes without asking, and Molly was understandably upset. I went down for breakfast this morning while Molly was still asleep. My parents were cooking and said that I should have backed my sister out because she's only a kid. They didn't say anything bad about Molly, but they said we were being unfair and harsh to Hannah and should apologize. I'm not apologizing. Hannah stole something from Molly. She knew it was wrong and apologized, and was rightfully told off for it. How do I sort this out? Your sister is clearly in the wrong, but it also sounds like you and your wife may have taken this a bit far. In my view, describing this incident as stealing is misleading. She took the shoes for a short period of time when your wife wouldn't need them, and to wear indoors, where they would not be harmed. Again, she should not have done it, but were you too harsh or unfair in how you reacted? I don't know, but you were there and know what was said. For me, your story lends itself to different interpretations. Entitled sister and parents would be one. Your wife being very angry, overreacting, and being mean to a 17-year-old who made a mistake would be another. Your wife way overreacted, and so are you. Even this title is an overreaction. Your sister didn't steal from your wife. She had no intention of keeping the shoes. She tried them on. Was she wrong to touch your items without permission? Absolutely. She apologized, and your wife still thought that wasn't good enough. Why did she need to be told off after acknowledging she was wrong and apologizing? Berating someone who has offered their sincere mea culpa is a 100% D move. Your sister did not deserve that. So, due to a frankly terrible education, I got pregnant at 15. I tried to keep it quiet and get an A, but unfortunately my parents found out. I was raised in a highly Christian area in the Bible Belt, and my parents were similarly inclined. Safe to say, when they found out, A was no longer an option for me. I was heavily pressured into having a child. The father, also 15, and his family wanted nothing to do with the kid. I was told if I didn't have the child, then I would go to hell. I genuinely believed my parents wanted the best for me. So I made a deal with my parents. They formally adopt my son, and I would act as a big sister. I would be expected to babysit and help out, but in general, no more so than any other big sister. I would also contribute money after university, which I ended up attending and graduating. So this was actually a pretty sweet deal, as far as ultra-Christian upbringing, forced childbearing goes. I get along very well with my little brother. I'm now 24, he's 9. He has always known I'm his biological mother, and we have had a talk a few times about how I was too young to raise him, but I love him very much. It's never really bothered him, and he always referred to me as his sister. He calls our parents mom and dad. Honestly, he's had a great upbringing. Goes to private school. Our parents are a lot less harsh on him than they were on me. They've also mellowed out a lot on the religious dogma. Honestly, they're pretty good parents now in my opinion. So now on to the problem. My parents called me up and told me when school starts up again for my little brother, they were expecting me to take him in. Basically, their argument is they've raised my kid for 9 years. I am now in a comfortable position, so I should take him back. They're getting into their 50s now, so I think they just have less energy to deal with a 9-year-old. I disagree with them for several reasons. I'm not ready to be a mom. I wasn't at 15 when I was forced into it, and I'm not now. I live 2 hours away from them, so he would have to move schools, which I don't think he'd like. He's a very social kid. My parents live in a gorgeous southern house. It has loads of space for him to explore growing up like a kid. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment with my boyfriend in a city. Not only did he not sign up to live with my brother, he knows he's actually biologically my son. He pays half the rent, so it's a lot to ask of him. Lastly, I don't feel like he's my son. I signed away my rights to him when he was born. I know legally they don't have a leg to stand on, but morally, I do love him like my brother, and he is my son. My parents have raised the kid I had, even though I didn't want him. So I calmly listed these reasons out, and my parents absolutely blew up at me. They said they had spent their time and effort raising my child, and now that I have my own apartment and I'm making money, I should take back my son. Basically, it boils down to, no, legally he's not my son. But morally, should I take him in despite my reservations because I did birth him, and biologically he is my son? I am sorry, but I am disgusted by what I'm reading here. First, your parents force you to have the child, and have your parents adopt him. They raise him for 9 years, and decide they have had enough of him. What the duck is this? This is a child who sees them as his parents. Imagine being 9 years old and your parents decide they don't want you anymore, and your real mother says she does not want you either. Imagine being that boy. What all this will do to him. Knowing nobody wants him, and nobody caring about what is best for him, only about what they want. Reading all this makes me mad as hell. If your parents keep saying they raised your child, they were wrong from the beginning. When they offered you that deal and became his parents, he became their child. This will affect your son, brother, so much more than they realize. To have him at 9 years old, now all of a sudden switch from you being his sister to his mom, and in a completely different environment. But anyway, you are correct that they have no legal leg to stand on. Morally, that's tough. I think you need to decide what kind of relationship you want with your parents and brother, son. Do you want to cut ties with them? I think what matters most is the interest of your brother, son, and it seems like no one is really thinking about that. My mom, female 51, cheated on my dad, 58. If it was the first time, I don't know, although I doubt it. But 9 months ago, my younger sister, female 23, and I caught her in the action in mom and dad's bed when we got the dates mixed and showed up the wrong weekend to a supposed family gathering. I don't want to go into details since I don't know how much is relevant here, but the way we found them probably added to my anger and unforgiving of her. She swore it was a one-time thing and yada yada yada. Dad believed her even though this crushed his spirit, and he is not his bubbly self after that, and has a lot of weight since. Nobody else believed her but my other siblings, male 33, male 31, female 31, female 23. and some of the other family members who found out thought if he forgave her, it was good enough for them. And after a few months, everything was supposed to be as usual. I did not, however, forgive her, and I told her that evening she was dead to me, and she was never going to be part of my or my baby's, female 3 months, life. I was pregnant at the time, and I was supposed to break the news in that gathering. I kept my promise and refused to see or talk to her throughout the pregnancy, and she was raging and calling me selfish, cold-hearted, and an a-hole for depriving her of her first grandchild. Not only her, the rest of the family seemed to think that I am in the wrong too, including Dad, and they all went no contact with me. I suspect it's to pressure me to talk to her again, but my sister said no, they all just think that I'm a big a-hole and don't want anything to do with me. The only ones on my side are my significant other, one cousin, and of course, myself. I can't forgive her, not only for what I witnessed that will haunt me for the rest of my life, but even because of what Dad has become. I have never seen him so defeated or depressed, always on the verge of tears whenever I ask how he was, and the last time we met, a month or so before I gave birth, he cried in the nursery he was helping me prepare for my daughter. I resented my mom even more, and the thought of her in my life honestly makes me want to vomit. No one from my family have met my daughter since her birth. No one asked or called or did anything. My significant other, in a desperate attempt, sent a picture of me and my newborn baby to my family chat group, and none responded. It feels like this is becoming a battle of me versus mom, and she is winning. The problem is, I love my family so much. We have always been so close. I wouldn't mind them having a relationship with both me and my mom, but they're set on going no contact as long as I'm excluding mom from my life. I miss them, and most of all, I miss Dad, who I believe needs me now more than any other time. I'm very lost and tired of crying myself to sleep every night, but I can't rid myself of the resentment. What can I do? Edit. Thanks a lot for the support. I'm getting both here and on the chat. Although many are saying I'm being very dramatic and cheating isn't that bad, and that I'm being silly to feel traumatized. I'm not judging cheaters, and I'm sorry for everyone who felt triggered. Of course, many can come back from infidelity and stay in the relationship. I'm just telling my experience. I am not, neither here nor privately, going to give the kiki details. It's not about that. I'll leave that to your imagination and my nightmares. I will, however, tell what transpired afterwards. As I said, little sister and I got the dates mixed and went to Mom and Dad's home. We heard commotion in Mom's voice, and we thought she had fallen or something and hurt herself, so we ran upstairs in fear. When they saw us, it was the usual mom sobbing, telling us, "It's not what you think, it's not what you think." While getting dressed, the dude ran into the bathroom, and my sister's yelling and crying. I asked Mom, "Is Dad in on it? Does he know?" Because I thought they maybe had an arrangement. The dude then goes out in my dad's bathrobe, smirking, and he sat on the bed and started smoking. My sister is hysterical now, and I started yelling, "What's going on? Does Daddy know?" I took out my phone to call Dad and turned to get out of there, but Mom jumped at me and knocked the phone out of my hand and begged me to stop. The dude then went to the door and locked it and stood there blocking it, chuckling. I turned to Mom and told her to let us out. She came towards me and slapped me twice around my face, yelling at me to calm down. Sister was screaming, "Leave her alone! She's pregnant, US!" And she had called Dad and started sobbing and begging him to come. The dude heard Dad is coming, so he took off the robe and started getting into his clothes in front of us. I took my sister and ran out and sat in the car waiting for Dad. And that's what happened. I'm so sorry that your family is punishing you like this, just when you should be having so much joy sharing your baby with them. Get some counseling, even if it's to come to terms with what you saw that day. You know that wasn't the first time your mom cheated, and she's probably still doing it. But they've all decided to overlook it, and somehow they've transferred their anger at your mother's betrayal onto your reaction. Nice trick. Counseling. Now. Update. I mentioned that one cousin, female 22, took my side, or should I say she didn't cut me off. She did some investigation and found out that there was this rumor about my little sister not being my dad's biological daughter. My mom told my siblings that I was the one who had spread this rumor to hurt her reputation, and that's what made them go no contact. When I told my significant other this, he was very shocked, and told me he's been receiving anonymous texts and emails from a guy claiming that I was unfaithful with him, and that our baby isn't my significant other's. My significant other didn't want me to know this before, because how I was, still am, doing. I made a final desperate attempt to contact my siblings and dad, and wrote them a very long email, and asked my cousin to send it to them to make sure they got it. The only response I got is my oldest brother's fiancé emailing my significant other that we're uninvited to her and her brother's wedding in April. That was a week ago. Yesterday, Dad called my significant other. He told him that he felt obligated to tell him the truth about me. That I have been lying to everybody, and that I have made up the whole mom having an affair thing to cover my own unfaithfulness. And he advised my significant other to take a paternity test to make sure our baby is his. I heard everything because significant other had put him on speaker. I have been crying on and off since yesterday, running to the bathroom being sick whenever I think about Dad's words. I don't know if I regret investigating further and not letting it go. I realize now that I won't be hearing from any of my family anytime soon, and for the first time in over 6 months, now I think it maybe is for the best. Oh.